Hi, friends. This is Pastor Young from Not Your Parents' Religion podcast, and I approve the following deep dive.
All right, welcome back. It's part 3 of our deep dive into guided Christian meditation with Pastor Robert Young from the Not Your Parents' Religion podcast.
Oh, yeah.
If you're just joining us now,
Okay.
we've already sort of explored Pastor Young's unique philosophy on this.
Right.
And the biblical roots of this practice. So you might want to check out parts 1 and 2 to get the full picture.
For sure.
But if this is your first time,
Right.
you're in for a treat because we're going to get really hands-on with an actual guided meditation transcript from Pastor Young.
This is where the rubber hits the road.
Yes. This is where we see it all come together. And how he takes all these concepts and turns them into a tangible experience.
Yeah.
And get this, there's even a muscle relaxation exercise involved.
Oh, wow.
Now, confession time.
Yeah.
I didn't picture meditation being so physical.
It's fascinating how he blends these different elements together.
Right.
But, before we jump into the step-by-step process, he makes a really important distinction between prayer and meditation.
Okay.
And he emphasizes that Christian meditation isn't about emptying your mind in some other traditions.
Exactly.
And he even points to Joshua 1.8, where it talks about meditating on the law day and night.
Yeah.
So it's about focused reflection, deep thinking on Scripture, letting its meaning really sink in.
Right. It's not just like blanking your mind.
Yeah.
It's about focusing it very intently on something very specific.
It's an active engagement with the text, not just zoning out.
So how long should you meditate for?
Right.
Does he give any kind of guidelines on that? I mean, I know everybody's different, but...
Yeah, he doesn't give a hard and fast rule, but he suggests starting small and gradually working your way up to around 20 minutes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like any skill, you don't want to overdo it on day one.
You wouldn't try to run a marathon on day one, right?
Exactly.
Start small, build consistency, and gradually increase as you feel more comfortable.
Okay, so the heart of this episode, and this is what we're really going to break down, is Pastor Young's 7-step process for guided Christian meditation.
Okay.
We're using his transcript as a case study to see how these steps play out in a real session.
Okay.
And the first step is confession.
Interesting.
Now, I have to admit, this one caught me off guard a little bit. Why confession?
Why there?
Why start there?
Right.
Seems a little out of place to me.
Well, it's about recognizing our imperfections.
Okay.
And approaching God with humility.
Okay.
It's a fundamental concept in Christianity.
Right.
Acknowledging our need for forgiveness and grace before we can truly connect with the divine.
So it's like clearing the air before having an important conversation.
Exactly.
You want to kind of start with a clean slate.
Yeah, you want to be in the right state of mind.
And even if you're not coming from a strictly Christian perspective, I think there's value in taking stock of your inner state before diving into meditation.
Oh, sure.
It's about creating a space for clarity and receptivity.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then we move on to step 2.
Okay.
And that's worship.
Worship.
Now, that might seem very specific to Christianity.
Right.
But, I think we can all relate to the idea of expressing gratitude.
Absolutely.
And Pastor Young emphasizes thanking God for the blessings in our lives.
Yeah.
Big and small. There's actually a growing body of research showing the positive psychological benefits of gratitude.
Interesting.
It can really shift our perspective, help us focus on the good, even when things are tough.
And in the context of Christian meditation, worship is a way of acknowledging God's presence and goodness.
Right.
It's about cultivating a sense of awe and wonder.
Yeah.
Aligning ourselves with something larger than ourselves.
Okay, now for steps 3 and 4.
All right.
This is where we get into some techniques that might surprise you. Breath work and muscle relaxation exercises. Not exactly what comes to mind when most people think of meditation.
Right. Yeah.
But this is where the mind-body connection comes into play.
Okay.
And Pastor Young's transcript guides listeners through deep, controlled breathing using what he calls the 7-4-7 method.
What's that?
Inhale for a count of 7.
Okay.
Hold for 4.
Okay.
And exhale for 7.
Got it.
And then there's the muscle relaxation exercise where you systematically tense and release different muscle groups.
Interesting.
I'll be honest, when I first saw this in the transcript, I was a little baffled.
Yeah.
Like, wait,
I can see that.
is this really meditation?
Yeah.
But then it clicked.
What happened?
When we're stressed, when we're anxious, our bodies tense up, right?
Right.
Our breathing becomes shallow.
For sure.
By consciously relaxing our muscles and deepening our breath, we're sending signals to our nervous system that it's okay to calm down.
It's like physically creating a state of relaxation that allows the mind to follow.
Yeah, it's like we're physically preparing our body to receive that meditative state.
And these techniques are actually rooted in practices like yoga and mindfulness, which are becoming increasingly popular even in secular settings.
Exactly.
So it's interesting to see how he's incorporating these different traditions.
It's all kind of coming together.
Yeah.
So we've confessed, we've worshipped, we've relaxed our bodies.
Okay.
Now it's time to engage with Scripture.
Okay.
Which is step 5 in Pastor Young's process.
Makes sense.
So this is where the real meat of the meditation begins.
Okay.
In the transcript that we're looking at. The chosen passage is 2 Chronicles 7.14.
Okay.
Which talks about God healing the land.
Okay.
If his people humble themselves and pray.
All right.
And it's not just about reading this passively.
Right.
Step 6 is all about reflection.
Okay.
Contemplating the meaning of the Scripture.
Right.
And listening for what Pastor Young calls God's prompting on your heart.
So it's about making the text personally relevant to your own life?
Yes.
Drawing connections between the ancient words and your present circumstances?
Exactly. To guide this reflection,
Okay.
Pastor Young provides 2 specific questions in the transcript.
Okay, what are they?
He asks, do I consult God about decisions in my life?
Okay.
And why should I consult God first in my decisions?
Mm.
And I think even for someone who isn't necessarily religious,
Right.
these questions can spark some powerful self-reflection.
Absolutely.
You know, it's about examining your guiding principles. Like, what sources of wisdom do you turn to when faced with tough choices?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's applicable to everyone, regardless of their beliefs.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
But there's still more to unpack.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to dive into the remaining steps and what they reveal about Pastor Young's approach in part 2 of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back.
I am so curious to hear what stood out to you.
Oh my gosh.
From those first 6 steps.
So much to unpack.
I know, right?
That muscle relaxation technique really caught my attention.
I know.
It's like he's bridging the gap between physical and spiritual practices.
It is fascinating.
Isn't it?
And it really speaks to that interconnectedness of our mind and body.
He's not just focusing on mental or spiritual exercises.
Right.
He's acknowledging the importance of physical well-being as well.
Okay, so we left off with step 6, reflection.
Right.
And now we're moving on to step 7.
Okay.
Affirmation.
Affirmation.
And this is where the power of repetition comes in.
Okay.
In this specific meditation, the affirmation is, I know that God has the best plan for my life, and I will consult him first.
Interesting.
Now, it might sound simple, but don't underestimate the power of repeatedly affirming a belief.
Okay.
It's like planting a seed in your subconscious mind.
I like that analogy.
And, you know, there's a growing body of research on the effectiveness of affirmations in changing our thoughts and behaviors.
I can see that.
It's like rewiring your brain.
Yeah.
For positivity and alignment with your desired outcome.
And in this context, it's about aligning your will with God's will.
Exactly. It's about internalizing the belief that God's plan is for your ultimate good.
Okay.
And committing to seeking his guidance in your decision-making.
Now, after the 7 core steps, Pastor Young includes 2 bonus steps in his transcript.
Okay.
Visualization and assignment.
Okay, let's start with visualization.
Okay.
Because this one really intrigued me.
It's a powerful technique.
Yeah.
And it might seem surprising to find it in a Christian context.
Right.
But Pastor Young actually connects it back to the Bible.
He does.
Yeah, he references 2 Corinthians 4.18, which talks about focusing on what is unseen, the eternal rather than the temporary things of this world.
So it's about shifting your focus from the tangible to the intangible.
Exactly.
From the immediate to the eternal.
And in this specific meditation, he guides the listener to visualize their life aligning with God's plan.
Oh?
It's about creating a mental picture of what that ideal state would look and feel like.
And, you know, visualization isn't just some new age concept.
Right.
Athletes have been using it for decades to improve their performance.
They visualize themselves executing a perfect move.
Right.
And that mental rehearsal actually helps them perform better in real life.
It's about training your mind to see the possibilities, to believe in what you're working towards.
And in the context of Christian meditation, it's about aligning your desires with God's will, visualizing yourself living in accordance with his purpose for your life.
I love that.
Then to bring it all together, there's the final step, the assignment.
Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road, right?
This is where the rubber meets the road.
It's about taking what you've experienced in the meditation
and
integrating it into your daily life.
In this case, Pastor Young encourages listeners to repeat the entire meditation process daily for a week.
So it's about creating a consistent practice.
Yes.
Building a habit.
We all know the power of repetition.
Think about learning a new language or a musical instrument.
It's all about consistent practice.
Exactly.
And in this case, it's about cultivating a deeper connection with God.
Right.
Making these principles and practices a part of your daily routine.
Okay, so we've walked through Pastor Young's entire guided meditation transcript.
We have.
What stands out to you about his approach?
Well, one thing that strikes me is the combination of traditional Christian elements with practices that have a broader, more universal appeal.
Okay.
So we have confession and worship, which are deeply rooted in Christian theology.
Yeah.
But then we also have breath work,
yeah,
muscle relaxation, visualization, techniques that can benefit anyone, regardless of their belief system.
It's like he's taken the essence of Christian meditation and made it accessible to a wider audience.
Yeah, it's both deeply spiritual and incredibly practical.
But there's one element we haven't explored in depth yet.
Okay.
And that's the content of the meditation itself.
Okay.
Remember, the scripture he uses is 2 Chronicles 7.14, which talks about God healing the land.
Yes, that's a powerful image.
It is.
And I think it's particularly relevant in today's world.
Yeah.
What does it mean to heal the land in a contemporary context?
Exactly.
And how does this passage speak to the challenges we're facing right now?
Yeah.
That's what we'll be unpacking.
That's a great question.
In the final part of our deep dive.
Stay with us. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Pastor Young's guided Christian meditation.
Okay.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
From confession and worship to breath work and visualization.
Right.
But this last piece, this is what I think really ties it all together.
Yeah. The scripture passage Pastor Young chose for this meditation, 2 Chronicles 7.14.
Right.
It's not just a random verse.
No.
It speaks to a profound concept.
Okay.
The healing of the land.
Yes. It's a powerful image.
It is.
And it just feels so relevant in our world today.
Absolutely.
There's so much division.
Yeah.
So much turmoil.
Everywhere you look.
Everywhere you look, both within ourselves and on a global scale.
Yeah.
This idea of healing the land. It resonates with that deep longing.
Yeah.
For peace, for unity.
For restoration.
For restoration.
Absolutely.
And you know, he's not just talking about physical healing.
Right.
He's talking about spiritual.
Yeah.
And societal healing as well.
It's about addressing those wicked ways.
Right. What are those wicked ways?
That lead to division and suffering.
Yeah. What are they in our modern context?
I think that's where it gets really personal.
Yeah.
It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
It could be selfishness.
Yeah.
Greed.
Judgment. Prejudice. All those things that separate us.
To things that separate us from each other and from God.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not just about pointing fingers at others.
Right.
It's about looking inward.
Yeah.
Acknowledging our own contributions.
Our own part.
To the problems that we see.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where this focus on consulting God in our decisions becomes so crucial.
It's about aligning our will with a higher purpose.
Yes.
Seeking guidance beyond our limited human perspective.
Because let's face it.
Yeah.
We don't always have the answers.
We don't always see the bigger picture.
We don't see the bigger picture, and there's a humility in that.
Right.
A recognition that we need something greater than ourselves to guide us towards that healing.
And it's not about passively waiting for God to fix everything.
Yeah.
It's about actively participating in that healing process.
Yes.
It's about making choices, both big and small, that contribute to a more just and compassionate world.
It's about becoming agents of healing.
Exactly.
In our own lives and in the lives of others.
That's a great way to put it.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive,
okay,
what would you say to someone who's intrigued by guided Christian meditation, but maybe a little hesitant to try it?
I'd say be open to the possibilities.
Yeah.
What we've seen in Pastor Young's work is a beautiful blend of faith and practice, tradition and innovation.
Right.
He's taking these ancient spiritual principles
and
making them relevant and accessible to a modern audience.
And, you know, even if you don't identify as Christian, there's still so much to be gained.
Absolutely.
From these practices that we've explored.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, reflection, the power of visualization.
It's all about cultivating a deeper connection with yourself, with something greater than yourself, and ultimately with the world around you.
If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I highly recommend checking out Pastor Young's podcast, Not Your Parents' Religion podcast.
Yeah, you'll find a wealth of wisdom and guidance there.
A wealth of information, and as always, stay tuned for more deep dives into fascinating topics right here on The Deep Dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep
friend,
diving
this is Pastor
deep.
Young again. I hope you enjoyed that deep dive. And if you need more information or clarification about anything that was discussed in this episode, please do not hesitate to get in contact with us, and all of the ways to get in contact with us in the description box below. So until next time, I am your host, Pastor Robert Young, and this is Not Your Parents' Religion, and may God